Hello everybody and welcome back to ETS Reacts, and today we're doing Baseless Upen'S episode 1 through 4 cut content of Classroom of the Elite season 4. And I wanted to do this because I wanted a separate video than my reactions that I'm doing to Classroom of the Elite, where maybe I could break down more of like the directional change as a light novel reader, as well as seeing somebody else who's a light novel reader kind of talk about their cut content and the way they think that the anime is going, and if I agree with them or not, and as well as breaking down the way that maybe I would have added some scenes or cut this out and stuff like that. So I'm just really interested to see what this video is all about, because Baseless Upen in the past has been very negative about the anime adaptation. So I'm really interested to see if he's still negative about it, if he's not. So let's not wait anymore and let's get into this. Let's get it. And before we start here, make sure if you guys have enjoyed this video, go like this video for Baseless Upen, go subscribe to him, go watch the other stuff on his channel. Just giving up the little hype for him making this video, so shout out to him.
Classroom of the Elite Season 4 is finally here.
Finally,
Adapting the
after
second
2
main light
long
novel.
years, at least it
And
felt
just
like
like
2.
with season
I can't believe he put this photo in here. This is like the most commonly used photo of Koji on Twitter right now that I see, of him being Jabba the Hutt with a bunch of four chins
3,
and his
I'm
little
also back with
love
the
and
cut
pulling the
content videos, going over all the moments that the
tie
anime
down.
adaptation ended up skipping or changed, along with my brief thoughts on the adaptation
Nice.
as a massive fan of the light novels.
Nice.
First of all, I wanna say that I'm so freaking happy that Kadokawa and Studio Lurch are actually putting some effort into adapting the series this time around, unlike the previous seasons.
No way. Baseless Upen with positive reactions to season 4. And I mean, I also agree with it. I think the way that the production staff has handled this season has been awesome, right? Like giving it a complete makeover with the art style that I think is enjoyable. And like with the production staff, with the cut content and the art style, sure, there's little things that you can nitpick. Sometimes I have to pause my screen and be like, wait, is it blurry or is it just the art style? But overall, I think it's pretty solid and an upgrade for me personally as a light novel reader, of seeing Ichi Nose's hair actually be her light novel hair, or maybe seeing some characters closer to their light novel appearance. And then also working with Tomose Sensei to add the other students in to make D class 40 students. So I think all that has been positive. And then I think with the volumes, how they're doing 4 episodes, 4 episodes, 4 episodes, 4 episodes for volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4. I enjoy it. I think you can nitpick some stuff that I think I would cut out to maybe make volume 3 and 4 longer and make volume 2 shorter, just because volume 2 is very much a transition volume, and there's important dialect that you need to have in it, but there's some scenes that they've had where they've cut content out of it, but they still have that scene in there where you're kind of like, what was really the purpose of it for an anime only person? I don't really know. So we'll get into that when we get into volume 2 episodes.
It was
But
almost unbelievable when they announced that they would be dropping 4 whole episodes for the premiere.
oh, the other thing that the production staff does it really well, and I posted this on one of my shorts, is just the little motions. Like characters will be talking, and someone will pick up a cup and they'll drink, right? Like, and that to me is just the little stuff that makes the anime even better, right? Or when Koji in the latest episode, which is episode 7 now in volume 2, where he's like swirling his drink, as you know from reading the light novel, where he's like, I literally don't care about what Yagami's talking about at all. Like, this conversation's pointless. Like, why is Kushida here? Like, all this other stuff that was going on during that.
And having a total of 16 episodes means that the pacing is going to be so much better than
So much
before.
better.
Obviously, the pacing isn't going to be perfect, especially for volume 4.5. If
Is that confirmed though, that they are going to adapt volume 4.5? Because I have heard some people say it's the first 4 volumes. I've heard some people say it's to 4.5, but I think they're going to do what I was talking about earlier with 4 episodes per volume where they end at volume 4. Because that was really the take, was 4.5 was like early on, and then once we got within a month of the anime starting in April 1st, that it really came down to just being 4 volumes are being adapted for this season.
The season does end up adapting 5 volumes like everyone is expecting
I
them
don't
to.
I don't think they will.
But for these 4 episodes adapting the first volume of year 2, the pacing was actually great.
It was, and I think everyone was so excited by this, right? Like the pacing was unreal. There was some little stuff here and there which we'll
And
maybe
I
get
can't
into
believe
it.
I'm saying this.
That the only thing here that I see is like Horikita's eyes bugging out, where I'm like, is that on purpose? Of whoa, she's like Ichika's a weirdo, or is it just an animation art style error?
About Classroom of the Elite of all things. In my opinion, 5 episodes would have been a perfect adaptation because some scenes
Five
barely had any
episodes.
breathing room. But
Yes, I think that is the perfect way to describe some of these scenes. Is they don't get any breathing room, and I think the Ichika introduction scene, they cut some stuff out of it where I was just like, let's just sit there and not have the Ichika conversation be cut down to like 3 minutes, right? Like I want the full Ichika scene. I've said this multiple times. Of I'm honestly, when I read the light novels, I wasn't this big Ichika person that a lot of people are on the Twitter comments, but in the anime, I think she just has some of the coolest scenes in the first 4 volumes. So I'm like, I want her scenes fully animated. And then you got to her introduction and they cut content. And it was really like the only thing that they had cut content on for the most part up to that point. And I was like, what the hell? One of the most important scenes you cut content on? Like, didn't make any sense to me.
I'm still satisfied with how these 4
I
episodes
am
turned out,
still
at
satisfied.
least in
Same with
terms of
Baseless.
pacing. I'm very pleased to inform you guys that none of these 4 episodes had any major scenes cut out.
Yeah,
The
just
biggest
small
change
stuff.
is still the anime removing 90% of Ayano Koji's monologues. Sadly, it's been happening for the past 3 seasons.
To me, it's dialogue, right? Like it's not an action scene where if Koji's talking, I don't think you need crazy animation for when Koji's talking. I think the stuff they've been doing with the little picking up the cups and Tsubaki sucking on her lollipop or little stuff like that where they're doing it that makes you catch it and you're like, oh, that was cool. Where Subaki was sucking on it, then all of a sudden she like ripped off the whole lollipop, and everyone was like, what? Like she just ate that whole lollipop? Where it gets you interactive with it, where I don't think you need to have constant animation for just conversations. The only stuff I will say is then the when Koenji and Ayana Koji were talking on the stairs, and they just panned straight down to the stairs and then up for the 2 most influential characters probably in Classroom of the Elite, and you're gonna stare at the stairwell like what? That didn't make any sense to me.
And it seems like it's gonna continue even into the second year. Because the entire novel is narrated by Ayano Koji himself, anime only fans are sadly gonna lose out on what I'd consider to be the main appeal of the entire
Is he gonna
series.
say what I say?
It's a completely different experience watching the series unfold through Ayano Koji's POV, seeing him come to realizations in real time.
I say this all the time. The thing that the animation misses out on that I love so much is the inner monologue of Ayana Koji that we get in the light novel, which has more jokes, which isn't fully robotic. Like the anime loves to portray Ayana Koji as this like heartless robot, which he is at some points, but other times he has little like joke snippets where which are funny, or his inner monologue gives you a lot more detail that I wish they had, which before his inner monologue in the past was Koredei, which you're like, that was so dumb, that will do. Or you where now I feel like they've done a decent job with it's been better. I would like more personally.
And learning about his inner thoughts. In this video, I'll only mention Ayano Koji's thoughts when I think it could be interesting or
Yeah, you could this video could be an hour if you did all of that, which I know that's why they cut it out,
important
but
for the anime onlys to know about. Otherwise, we'd be here for hours.
Yeah.
So, with that short disclaimer out of the way, let's start with the cut content of episode 1. The first thing I want to mention is the class point situation now that everyone is in second year. I don't know why, but they didn't show the class points even once
Yeah.
during these 4 episodes, but here they
I do think that confused anime onlys later on when you see there's only a difference of 2 points between B and C, and you see how tight it is. And then after the first exam, Ichinose's class drops down to C. And I think a lot of anime only people were confused because, as a Classroom of the Elite super fan, I watch other reactors' reactions to it, and I saw a decent amount of people confused by it. It's really the only show that I watch other reactions with, to the most part, because when I watch shows with editing, like I watch it so many times that it gets a little stale. So with Classroom Elite, it never gets stale.
they are. As you can see, Class D is very far behind compared to the other classes, but the
But
interesting thing to note is that Class D went to literally 0 points after their first month.
right, they've had the biggest
And
makeup
when you take that into account, they are the class that has gained the most class
and
points
has the most
throughout the whole
potential,
entire
the
first
biggest
year.
threat.
Next up, when Chawashira sensei is explaining about the overall ability application,
All right, here's a good photo of Chabashira's ass and the new students. My favorite one is this green hair girl. Like they just wanted to save some money on the eyeballs or what? Like I think she's pretty funny. Even in the light novel, I how many does someone in the comments know how many people from Class D that we know from the light novel? Is there a certain amount of students? Because I could not. We definitely don't know all 40. Because NPC green hair, NPC the curly short girl hair that's kind of pinkish, and anybody else is the girl behind the green hair an NPC, and then the girl behind Shinohara NPC, dude in the back NPC.
Ayano Koji checks who the highest rated student in their class is, and it turns out to be Hirata with these stats.
Yeah, they give that in the anime though, right?
Koji also mentions that he would be even higher if he didn't crash out around the end of the first year,
Yeah, because he stopped contributing to the class, which lowers your social
that he
or
would be even higher with these.
his societal contribution would be even higher because it's at an A minus, and if he didn't have that crash out, he probably would have been at an A plus because
Stats.
he does a lot of
Koji also
societal
mentions that he
contribution.
would be even higher if he didn't crash out around the end of the first year, which was volume 10 of the light novel. We also see the student who's the lowest rated in the entire
Ike
class,
and
and the position
Sakura.
is tied between Ike and Sakura.
I think they said
A
that in
bit
the
later,
anime
we
though,
also
didn't
see
they?
Koenji stats for
Oh, we
OAE.
did not
By
see this in the anime, which I wish they did. I wish they expanded on Koenji a little bit more in the anime. I thought would have a better academic ability, if I'm being honest. And then his physical ability is just a B plus because he doesn't try. So
Koji mentions that the ratings seem to be strictly based on their performance throughout the first year without taking their potential into account. Another piece of info regarding the application stats is that Sakaya Nagiarisu will have her physical ability stat
at
tagged
the
with the
lowest
lowest rated
student,
student in their grade
yeah,
instead of calculating her stats differently. The last cut moment from the classroom scene is that Shawashira sensei, saying that the special exam will have some of the hardest questions they'll face so far and it will be extremely difficult to get perfect scores.
yeah. And I think that probably was important to include in the anime. That makes Ayana Koji's score that much better, and then as well as Yukimu's crash out, which they did a great job with that because when I read that in volume two, it was a snooze to me with Yukimu crashing out that much because I'm like, dude, you're just so jealous. But then you sit back and you think about it and you're like, well, he did teach you, so
And this info ties directly into the next moment, Ayano Koji and Horikita's bet. Even though this was briefly mentioned in the anime, there is way more focus on Horikita's challenge, which was set up since the last volume of Year 1. They both decide to compete on this special exam, and maths is the subject they choose.
Yeah, I don't know if they clarified that in the anime. I can't exactly remember, but I don't think they did say that math was the subject that uh, he chose. And I think Baseless Upen is probably going to describe it here of the process of how they got to that decision. So we'll wait.
This was supposed to be a very major scene because Koji had to go all out and reveal his potential to the rest of the class if he wanted to beat Horikita. Another small
So what also happened there is that he basically told Horikita that she could pick the subject the day of the test. So what that means is that Aina Koji would have to study all five subjects to make sure that he beat Horikita the day of the test. So he couldn't slack. So when Horikita said on the day of the test math, that means Aina Koji could get 100% in all five subjects. So that's really what floored Horikita there. And there was something else I was going to say with that story, but it's escaping me now. So
interaction was Ayano Koji being genuinely surprised after learning that Sudo studies on his own now, and Horikita mentioning that Sudo must be D plus in academics at this point.
yeah,
Moving on to the Hosen encounter scene, we have the first change
that could have been cut content. I don't think that was overly important going into pseudo. Like I think we covered pseudo enough in the
that I
anime.
wasn't a fan of. In the light novel as well as the manga, when Hosen grabs Ibuki by the neck, Ryuen actually kicks Hosen to save Ibuki. The anime just had him silently watching, which
Did he actually try to kick him in the light novel though? I don't think he did. I think this followed the light novel of where he didn't try to do
I found
anything.
to be quite
I
lame.
think that might have been a
It was
manga
really
only
hyped in the
thing.
light novel when Koji mentions that Ryuen was the only one willing to stand up to Hosen, even when he was being openly violent. Another change during this scene was that Yagami
Yagami did introduce himself
was also
to,
present and silently watching the encounter with
yeah.
Hosen. In the end, he eventually tells Hosen to de escalate
That's where Kushida then comes up right after Hosen leaves, but they split it into a different episode, which is fine. That's not a big deal.
after Nanase. Then we have the arrival and introduction of the class
I
of
thought what he said was weird though. When the teacher came up and he's like, you can't fight in the streets. And it's just like, what? It would have been way better when he came up and said, like, the rules have been drilled into you guys so many times, you should know better than now. Like, stuff,
unbeat
something like that.
Kushida.
But fighting in the
Even
streets
though we
line
see
was
him in
weird
the
to
anime,
me.
I'm pretty sure his introduction got skipped. And that's pretty much where
His introduction didn't get skipped.
episode 1 ends in the anime. While the scene continues in the light novel with Yagami noticing Kushida during the commotion and going over to meet her, which is how the next episode starts.
Yeah, so not a big deal.
Moving on to the cut content for episode 2, the first noticeable difference is when Yagami approaches Kushida. In the light novel, Kushida looks very confused for a while when he
Yeah, and I think this is more of a genius move on the anime only part because the and then being like you were this puzzled look when it was seamless, I think it will confuse a lot more people and I think that's better. Like I didn't want the like who are you? Like no, like that reaction. I think the way the anime did it was a really nice way of making anime onlys even more confused about who the White Room student is.
introduces
Not saying it's
himself.
Yagami. It could be anybody. It literally is everybody.
Compared to the anime where she pretty much immediately recognizes him. The next major cut was the anime completely removing Akito's backstory.
Yeah.
After the encounter
I wish they included that because it added on to the point of Hosen being a safe choice for Aina Koji because he had the reliable source of Akito, Ryuen, and I guess there's them two saying that they knew Hosen before he came to the school. So to Aina Koji, that's a check, right? And some anime only people get confused of like when do they leave the White Room? They never leave the White Room. They're always there. So this student got special privilege to go out of the White Room just to attend this. So there'd be no way that this student would know other people from the middle school or other areas because they would just be in the white room the whole time. So this was a big advantage for Ayana Koji. That and then obviously the brash tactics that Hosen went with.
With Hosen, Akito talks about his middle school life, mentioning that he came from the same hometown as Ryuen as well as Hosen,
And he was
and how
a
he used to
bad
be in a
boy.
gang before. The anime also cut out Akito alluding to knowing Ryuen during season 2 content, so it seems like anime onlys will never get to know about his backstory.
Yeah,
Then we move on to the
it's
Ichika
not a big
scene,
deal.
which
This one, if he says this is his least favorite thing about the first 4 episodes, then me and Baseless Upin on the same page. Let's get it.
actually has quite a few differences
Yeah,
compared to the anime.
and it sucked.
First up is the anime cutting out
It didn't suck. It was good. It just sucked personally because I really wanted the whole thing adapted.
Ichika showing interest in Ayano Koji and asking if he's looking for a partner as well, compared to the anime only showing her interest in Sudo.
Yeah, because I think it was kind of a token ass, and it was her real interest was in Horikita for the most part, and then it switched to Pseudo as soon as Horikita said that, and then Ichika kind of went, well, what about you, Anakoji, since he's standing there? Like, you would obviously ask about the other person there. So I think it was kind of a token ask.
Horikita says that she'd be happy if Ichika partnered
Partnered.
up with either
Yeah.
of them, and there's a pretty funny scene where Ayano Koji gets flustered because he's still sussing out the first year students and doesn't want to pair up with anyone yet.
Yeah.
Then the anime cuts out Ayano Koji and Horikita trying to gaslight Ichika into believing that Sudo is the strongest,
Yeah.
so she doesn't actually go through with the fight
Yeah. I wish they animated that because it just seemed like a really sudden jump to the cooking.
club idea.
That was what I thought Baseless Upin said so well here. It was sometimes you just feel like scenes needed a where they just tried to like go bang bang into like the next thing.
And it actually works out by Ichika backing out and asking for a partner who can cook instead. I'm also pretty sad that the anime cut out this funny panel where Koji is like,
Yeah, that's what I also. This is what I'm talking about with his inner monologues of where he's like, "What the heck is she saying? I've never once mentioned that before." Where a lot of people were confused by that too. Other reactors of they got to that and he was like, "Yes, it's my best ability," and all these other reactors are like, "What? That was his best ability?" Oh well, of course he's good at everything, so he's definitely good at cooking. And then some of them caught it when he was like Horikita, and she was like, "I'm thinking of it." Some of them were like, "Oh," but I think a lot of people thought that he actually was good at it, which he's Koji, he's good at anything, right?
what the hell is Horikita talking about?
Yeah,
This was low-key one of the funniest moments of Volume 1, and
I
I'm
agree
pretty
with
sad it
Baseless
was
here.
different in the anime. Moving on, there's quite a bit of Horikita and Koji strategizing and thinking about the exam that's cut from the anime.
Yes, it is. I think a lot from the gym area. I wish the gym was maybe expanded on a little bit more. So
Ultimately,
maybe Baseless was right. 5 episodes would have been perfect.
it's really not that important though.
Yeah, it's not.
And
It's just
next
some
up is
nitpicky
the
stuff.
shopping
That's what I
scene with
said.
Ishika, which is a bit more detailed and longer in the light novel too.
But
And
it's
there are also some
nothing
monologues
serious.
of Koji being suspicious of her behavior when they're shopping together.
Yeah, I wish he was like a little more suspicious of it, but then it'd kind of be a dead giveaway, right? Where I think they did a good job of keeping it mellow and not that deep of like petty knife. Oh, that's strange. Putting it back down. But then they also didn't include the sheath. Like I think the sheath was important part of this that they just didn't animate, which was weird to me.
After that, when Ichika enters Ayano Koji's room, the light novel also shows him coaxing Ichika into watching the TV,
Yeah,
which would end up masking out the noise from his
from
earplug.
Horikita. Yeah.
Lastly, the anime cuts out a line from Ichika saying that she doesn't really get along with her classmates
Yeah.
because of her blunt personality
Yep.
when Koji asks if she can help them with some other partnerships.
Nurse. And it was such a smart move, and it's what floored Horikita too. So I'm like, I don't understand why the anime didn't include this scene. Because to me, it's important to show Koji's mindset and his like always thinking ahead, which usually the anime does a really good job of that, of wanting to show Koji's like true exceptional ability.
with her class. And that's basically everything from episode 2. So now, let's move on to the next episode, which actually has the least amount of cut content so far.
And it's probably the
Most
biggest
of it is
snooze
just shortened
episode, if we're
dialogue
being
scenes for
honest.
the anime. The only few noticeable cut moments are Nanase revealing that the first year students only started with 800 class points
Yeah.
compared to 1000 like the previous year.
Yeah. And it's a minor one. And I think I explained it in my reactions when it came up, but it's just the little things, right? That you're like, well, it's kind of like the 40 people in the class, right? Of why wouldn't you mention it? It's there, and I think they want you to kind of guess it in episode one, where she goes like, "It's only a loss of 2,400 class points, like that's not a big deal." Where Koji
Yes.
caught it right away when she said
Koji
that
thinks
of,
that it
"Huh?
could be
That's
because the
weird. Three
first years
months?
had
Well, wouldn't it be
information
three
about how the
thousand?
school worked and the importance of class points, unlike
Or
the
sorry, they got 100,000 a month, so 300,000 class points, and so it'd be 240,000 that they would lose."
class. Next up is a moment when Ishika comes over to find her
Yeah,
hairpin.
this is another one I
When she
wish.
enters the kitchen, Ayano Koji actually stops Kei and she instantly understands that something serious is happening,
Yeah.
despite how angry and jealous she was being. I thought this was a really cool moment showing Kei's intuition and adaptability that
And let's see
Ayano
if
Koji
he gets
constantly
there.
talks about. So I'm pretty sad this ended up getting cut in the anime. And
And also with that scene is that Amasawa asked for um, a drink, and Koji was about like, "Kei, can you go make her a drink?" And Kei's like, "I don't want to make her a drink." And then Koji said, "Well, you can sit here and talk with her then while I make her a drink." And Kei's like, I'll go make her a drink then." And so they were having this kind of private conversation that I don't really remember what it was about. And then Kay came back with the drink, and Amasawa didn't drink it at all. She just got up and left, and Kate was like, "What the hell? I just made you that drink, and you're gonna leave?" And then Amasawa turned around and said, "Well, you want me to stay?" And they said that in the anime, but it didn't really make as much sense, right? Because she was getting up to leave. It was obvious that Kay would want her to leave, and I just think including that scene would have made a lot more sense to people. So I don't know. It's
lastly, the
kind of the
episode
small
covered a
things. So like
small
I
line
said,
of
it's all
Koji
nitpick.
saying that he can't be bothered to deal with Koenji and he would avoid trying to put him in a strategy.
Yeah,
And
it's not a big
surprisingly,
deal.
that's basically all of the cut content for episode 3. So now, let's move on to the final episode. This was yet another episode where we didn't have too many cut
They just
moments.
shifted some
It was
stuff.
mostly the anime shortening the dialogue scenes and making everything a bit more faster paced instead of focusing on the tension of the scenes.
Yeah.
The first major change comes during the
The
night
rain.
scene where it suddenly starts raining.
I think the first thing that really changed and it was weird was when Hosen was like, "Oh, look at Horikita," and Pseudo looks over there and he was like, "Oh, isn't she pissed?" But then like that encourages Pseudo to fight more. Where in the light novel, it's where Hosen throws a cheap shot and I think knocks Pseudo out right there. And I'm like, that makes way more sense than the way that the anime went about it. So I thought that was really strange, and that's really the only thing that's sticking out in my mind here that maybe Baseless might have missed.
In the anime, along with the purple.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the purple, and I'm a fan if it even rained. But it's when the monsoon started, as soon as the knife went through his hand to me, that I'm just like, what? That's weird. I think I even got up and was like, what the hell? Like what is happening? And I think if it was the thunder was cool, you could feel the anticipation coming into it. And then I'm like, all right, where's the little droplets coming? Like the little droplets would have been cool during the fight scene, but that probably is more money. And then it could come down hard, but we didn't get any droplets or anything. So it was just a little strange or goofy in my opinion.
Filter, which is followed by Ayano Koji letting the knife drop to the ground.
Yeah, I
I'll
didn't
be
like
honest,
that.
I'm personally not a fan of these changes whatsoever. In
Yeah.
the light novel, Ayano Koji made a big deal about the knife staying in his hand so he doesn't bleed
Yeah,
out.
I agree. You
He
should
even
just
ends
keep
up
it in his
stopping
hand.
Horikita from
But I don't
trying
know
to
if they
revive
were
the knife
thinking it
in the
was
light
too
novel.
gory or not.
And the anime adding the rain was a really stupid change because the blood and fingerprints staying on the knife were a major part of Ayano Koji as well as Hosen's plan, and you can see the knife getting soaked in the anime. The anime also cuts out a line of Ayano Koji saying that he won't be able to hide his physical capabilities from Pseudo and Horikita any
Yeah.
longer.
Yeah.
There's also a way bigger focus on their reactions to Ayano Koji in the manga and the light novel.
So the other thing that Baseless didn't say here, and I said in my reaction, was that he grabbed uh, Hosen's fist with so much strength that Hosen like couldn't pull the knife out of his hand, and when he couldn't pull the knife out of Aina Koji's hand, because if he would have pulled the knife out and then stabbed himself again, then you can make it look of like, oh, Koji stabbed me, and then in return I got the knife out, and then I stabbed him in the hand, and maybe both of them would have got expelled at that point, and then their class would have still got the 20 million. So Koji made sure that he was not getting the knife out of his own hand. The knife or the hand that has already been stabbed was controlling Hosen's hand, which is crazy to me. And they tried to signify it a little bit by like the grip of his hand and Hosen's shock reply, but or shock reply, like shock face. So that was the other thing that I was kind of a little disappointed in, because I think that's kind of the hype moment of you're like, holy cow, Koji's overpowering this guy with a knife in his hand. So
Moving on, the anime also cuts out Koenji partnering up with Nanase very easily,
yeah, that is
which gives it
funny.
surprising
Yeah,
depth.
that's just funny. A funny moment. I kind of even forgot about that.
Horikita as well as Koji.
Koji's like, no way,
And
Nanase?
finally, it's revealed that a few questions on the math exam from out of curriculum and basically impossible for
College
anyone
level.
in their entire grade to solve.
Yeah, they're
And
college level
Ayano Koji
questions.
ended up getting
Or
full
beyond
100
college.
marks because of his bet with Horikita, meaning that he won't be able to hide his true potential from his class for much longer. And that is pretty much all of the cut content and changes for the first 4 episodes of.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Baseless Upen. Once again, go like his video. Go subscribe to his video. He did a great job with this. I appreciate it. I think it was the best one out there. So that I've heard from other people. So yeah, that was awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know if you guys want me to keep doing something like this, because to me this is what I really love doing, right? Breaking down the anime adaptation versus the light novel. What you guys thought about what I thought about it. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time if Baseless Upen uploads another one. So bye.